Yeah, so I don't really want to do this. I imagine the question that might follow after that would be, well, who does? Intel's diagnostic software prompted me to call Intel, and the technician ran a few tests on my PC. I mean, it was still working to a large degree, but one of the tests for the CPU failed, and that's where I was prompted to call Intel. I'm running dual Corsair RAM fans here, and a special Noctua cooler, which is slim enough to work in between these two banks with the RAM fans and keep the RAM nice and cool, and the CPU nice and cool. And that was a special import from Noctua. They didn't have it in North America, so Amazon had to special order it directly from Austria so that I could actually have it. But anyway, that's a digression. I just what I have to do in order to get to the CPU, because Intel wants that CPU back, is kind of wreck my work. It's sad, but has to be done. I used a rather clever system of zip ties, and now I have to cut them. What they do is they hold the RAM fans, they secure them. These zip ties right here, and I have to cut them. I don't know if the lighting's good enough to see, but I have to do that. They reinforce the RAMs, pull the RAM fans together so they don't wobble, because I didn't really like the bracketing that came with the fans. They tended to wobble, and so I thought about it, moving over here, and thought, well, this would work. Use the zip ties to pull the whole thing together in unison, and it worked really well. It held everything. Well, now I have to cut all that so that I can remove the RAM fans, so that I can get to the CPU. Oh joy! Now I'm using the Corsair Dominator type RAM on here, so I have to be careful. It has these really high profile heatsink fans. Oh my goodness, look at that, eh? Very dusty. This is what happens over time. So I'm going to have to do a real cleanup before I even remove anything here, because I don't want any dust particles to fall into the terminals. But there we go. That's one side, and somehow I have to get down in there, way down in there at the bottom underneath. I have to remove my cooler fans, I imagine, to do that, so that I can unscrew the cooler from the CPU. This is going to involve a lot of fooling around. So there it is. what a job. Yeah, I'll need both hands for this, so well, I'll see if I can get this camera on a tripod. The lighting's pretty bad anyway, you can't really see a whole lot if I move it this way. But just letting you know that when you use these Corsair RAM fan coolers, they're a bit of a mess to deal with, but I like the idea of keeping my RAM cool as well as my CPU, and so I ran up a rig system, and I had temps that were comparable to liquid cooling as a result of cooling both the RAM and the CPU in a obvious push-pull shotgun configuration. There's another fan back here, and then another one here, and then another one here, drawing it through this heatsink. The NHD, I think 15 type S, I think it is, was the original choice for this, but unfortunately you can't use it with the double banks of RAM. I have 128 gigabytes of RAM, Corsair Dominator RAM here, so yeah, I had to try a different approach, and as you can see, there isn't a whole lot of clearance with these fans, and that's why I did my little special modification with my now snapped off zip ties, but it worked, you know what I mean, and it matched everything. It was nice and black, so it was very discreet. It was a good job, and my temps for my CPU were fine. There was never a problem with that, but I have one substandard core in the CPU, and when I first built it, my experience index was Windows Experience Index. I know that's kind of a Mickey Mouse deal, but it does give you some indication, you know, what's going on. On the CPU was 7.9, which is max. In fact, the whole Experience Index is 7.9. But after a BIOS update, I noticed that it dropped a point to 7.8 on the CPU. Everything else was still 7.9, but it brought my index down to 7.8, so it bothered me a little, but I didn't take it that seriously because, you know, it's a point. So, you know, I thought, well, you know, might be this, might be that. I tried a number of things to change it, and when I couldn't change it, I just forgot about it. But, you know, there was this progression, which eventually led to me running Intel diagnostics, and then, of course, a technician checked it out, and, yeah, recommended that the CPU be replaced. I'm hoping that this job will result in my RAID arrays being improved somewhat. RAID 10 worked fine with my LSI card down here, my LSI RAID 10 card. Well, it could be 10 or it could be 5, you know, 0, 1, whatever, but I chose RAID 10 for my workstation side of things. And RAID 0, onboard Intel RAID 0 seems to be working just fine, but my RAID 1 just doesn't. I am constantly getting errors and problems with my RAID 1. And I know you can do this. I know you can run 3 different kinds of RAID if you know what you're doing, with the assistance of a RAID card. I know you can do this. I know that, you know, you can run 2 kinds of onboard RAID. I'm pretty sure, I mean, I've done it before without an issue, you know. Well, I don't know. Intel onboard RAID does generally have a lot of issues, and But this was, you know, I mean, my RAID arrays are degrading about every day or every 2 days on RAID 1, so I don't know that the CPU is the reason for that, but I'm hoping it'll fix that problem. You know, maybe there are other things that I don't know of, although the CPU passed a whole entourage of tests with flying colors. The thermals are fine, I mean, all the cores are functional, but one was just substandard. It was supposed to be running at 3.6 gig, and I was getting 3.2 on that one core. So it failed the frequency count, and so I have to do all this just to replace the chip, because I have one core that just for some reason would not go up on the frequency count. And yeah, so there it is, and I have to get to work on this now. I need both my hands free to do it. So thanks for watching. Bye.